Good evening and welcome to the Melissa Cardinals Network. This is Trey Graham, Coach Matt Nally, joining you from the Dugout Sports Grill at the Z-Plex. This is the Cardinals Scoreboard Show. We broadcast every Monday evening, 5:30 p.m. here at the Dugout. You and your family are invited to join us on Monday evenings for dinner. Make sure you subscribe to Melissa ISD on YouTube, where you're notified when new episodes of the Cardinal Scoreboard Show come out. Matt Nally, it's not getting old yet, but it's getting repetitive. How about a 6-game winning streak?
Dang right. I hope it continues to go on, and the kids are playing really well, and the coaches are doing a great job right now. So we're blessed, truly, truly blessed.
We'll talk in a few minutes. The big win over Greenville last week, an upcoming game this Friday against Princeton. We'll talk about that. And Coach Kenny Deal told me to ask you the question.
I know what question it is because I watched it. And I heard him say on the show,
okay,
make sure you ask Coach Nally.
Well, then you should have prepared. The question is, before you answer it, the question is, who scheduled you and Lovejoy, who were both expected to be the top two teams, in what we've been saying every week is the district championship game, who scheduled you guys to be the last regular season game?
So when you go in and realignment happens, the UIL has their own little system where they can put where teams go. So when we get our packet, it's literally you get a ball cap and you put numbers in it and you draw a number. And that number goes into the equation that the UIL gives you, and it places you where you're at. So actually the first time that we did it, us and Lovejoy were playing first. And Denison requested, because they had some sort of fair or something in their community, that they needed to not play at a certain time or a certain day or something like that. So we had to redo it, and then when we redid it, it gave us and Lovejoy the last game of the year.
So it is going to be the district championship game.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then that's what everybody's been looking forward to, but it's the literally luck of the hat, huh?
Correct.
Yeah?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So when I saw that on Saturday morning, I thought, wow, I would love to have a bigger answer than that.
Yeah.
But that's the answer.
Okay. Another thing that we talk about on the broadcast, people can't see it from here, the brackets. You and I talk about this off the air a lot. This is what football nerds do, is they sit down and they try to figure out who's going to play what opponent. Remember, 4 teams from each district play or move on to the playoffs. 1 plays 4 from your opposing district in what they call the by-district round. 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3. So I know that you know that I do it, and you and I talk about it, but how much do real people do this kind of stuff?
I would say in the football coaching world, a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like we used to have a big, huge, almost like March Madness board in our coaching office one year. But that bracket is going to be looked at a ton over the next couple weeks because you're trying to scout potential opponents. And our game is going to have a very big piece to that bracket, but also the last game of the year in the other district is going to be a big piece of that as well. So there's times that you go into, even this week, you kind of have an idea who you're going to play. This year,
it's wide open.
It's wide open.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're going to meet our offensive and defensive players of the game in a couple minutes. Our defensive player of the game, linebacker Alex Secreto. Our offensive player of the game, Coach Deal was in the mood to give out awards, so the whole offensive line was named the offensive player of the game. So you're going to meet a whole bunch of really big people in a little bit. So let's talk about what makes, first of all, for Alex Secreto, senior linebacker, what makes a good linebacker?
Well, first off, it's physicality. The one thing that Alex did was Alex is a very strong kid. He got injured last year and got determined that he was going to come back even better, even stronger. He gained some weight, but he's extremely strong. But the biggest thing is physicality. And no one is ever going to question Alex Secreto's physicality. He has a passion for the game that other people don't have. And once again, to play linebacker, you got to be passionate and you got to be not scared. And he is not those. But, I say it every week, Alex is a great person, and he's going to grow up to be a successful man because of his work ethic that he's done right now. But the one thing that sets Alex apart is Alex is a very physical individual.
And the starting offensive linemen, we're going to meet more than just 5, but the starting offensive linemen that were named offensive players of the game: left tackle Trevor Gooseby, left guard Brandon Ward, the center Luke Damel, right guard Owen Hollenbeck, right tackle Jake Brown. And we always talk about Jacob Fields, Carson Maynard, Trevor Ham. Those people make you as a coach look good.
Right.
But the offensive linemen make those guys look good.
Right. It's almost like a frat within its own. A frat within the frat, because an offensive lineman is, if you know anything about football, it's the most important position in football. Is those 5 guys, and but they get zero notoriety. Zero notoriety, and not just
unless
that.
you get called for holding.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And you just don't understand how hard it is to play that position. There's a lot of technique and fundamentals that go within that. That yes, we teach technique and fundamentals to all these other positions, but that's one position. If you take the wrong step, you're exposed. If you don't have your hands right, you're exposed. So those kids are, like I said, they're the superhero of the football team. And not just that, but if you ever really get to dive deep into an offensive lineman, they're all selfless. Every single one of them. It's just who they are as a person. They're a servant to the team and just others in general. It is a great position to play. And for me personally, I have 3 boys. And I always say the same thing. You call yourself a football player? Awesome. Go put your hand in the dirt and play football. That's a football player. But like I said, those kids are unbelievable kids. All of them are unbelievable. They've got a great offensive line coach, and they're asked to do so much more than, our walkthrough starts at 6:30 in the morning. Those kids, you'll see them, we'll drive up, and they'll be outside at 6:10, 6:15. Coach Rosh has already got them going outside under the lights. So those kids are just unbelievable kids and going to grow up to be unbelievable people.
I asked you a moment ago what makes a good linebacker. Now, what makes a good offensive lineman?
Intelligence is first and foremost. There's so many things that if it's Damel or if it's Was or if it's Sarah, you got to come up and identify a front. And then you got to not just identify a front, we call them creepers. Where are the creepers coming from? Because you might have to change the blocking scheme or the pass pro based off of what you see. So first and foremost, it's intelligence. And there's so much twist, there's so much long sticks, there's so many things that they have to deal with that those other kids don't. Like, in our offense, we run a lot of option routes. Well, if the slot or if the apex backer's here, you're going to run out. If the apex backer's here, you're going to do this. Well, in the offensive line, it is, if this guy does this, then you're going to stay on your track. But if this guy does this, you're going to stay on. But he also might do this, and then he could potentially do that. It's a longer equation. So intelligence is a big deal. And then at the end of the day, you've got to have tenacity, you've got to be physical, and you've got to be a teammate.
And to those who don't know football or have never played O-line, the center's the same as a guard, the same as a tackle.
Correct.
But they are all different animals.
Correct.
Talk about it.
So your center guy is more your cerebral guy. Is more your guy that, like I said, just probably going to end up being an engineer or something like that. Where your guards in our offense are more your brutes. More your guys that can get a down block, more your guys that are going to be really, really, really physical kids, but are intelligent enough to see a twist and see things like that. Where our tackles are more of our athletic kids, where we're going to put a kid that can move a little bit, is going to help our quarterback in pass protection, and can run. But they're all different animals in the regards of what we ask them to do, but they're all perfect fits, what we ask them to do as well. So, like I said, you can't ask for a better group of boys than those 10 kids. They're great kiddos.
And what about if you're on the other side of the football? You're trying to attack an O-line from a defensive perspective. What's the strategy?
Defense is based off of gaps, whereas offense is based off of alignments, and you're trying to get your math right. So on the defensive side, we might be running a tight zone play. They've just got to make sure their fits are gap sound. And that's where it comes into an offensive lineman. It's your job to make them not gap sound. And that's where it comes with our offensive coordinator and offensive staff. How can we formationally put you in a situation where you're not gap sound, but the schemes that we run, and once again, our kids are unbelievable in the regards of their eyes. I mean, you could see them coming together, and they make calls within the play. Like, everyone remembers when we were a kid, you can hear the offensive lineman making calls, where our kids are making calls as the play's going on. They're communicating with one another based
After
off
the snap.
After the snap, based off what they see, and like, hey, you might come off and go to the linebacker, but if I see this, he might come off and go to the linebacker. So that is something that is just, I mean, it's poetry in motion. But on the defensive side as well, I mean, I got to pop my hands and I got to get in my correct gap, and then you got to read what that guy's doing. So, I mean, it is definitely a chess match up front. But kudos, it doesn't matter. Kudos to anybody who plays offense or defensive line, because that's where football players are made.
So you're giving a great example, and I want the audience to understand the physical side, the on-field side of football, but there's a whole classroom side.
Yes.
Talk about that.
So, like, we take it from film to chalkboard, and then we get into practice, and we do, every day on the defense side, we do what we call block destruction and tackling. So we're always going to tackle every day. Well, then we get in our third period what we call it block reaction. So our defensive line is working against our offensive line. Our defensive line is reading their blocks based off of the front that we're in, where the offensive line is reading what they're doing and trying to fit what they're doing to make it schematically correct. It's poetry in motion. It's the only way I can put it. You know, I mean, it is. You have to be highly intelligent, and you got to be technically and fundamentally sound in those two spots in football. You have to be every single play, because if not, you're going to get exposed. But yeah, it is a big-time cerebral part of the game with those two lines getting after it.
In a moment, you'll meet the offensive lineman. You'll meet Alex Secreto, the linebacker, but the offensive linemen they'll meet are sophomores, juniors, and seniors.
Correct.
Which means you've got to have some 7th and 8th and 9th graders coming up to take those spots in a few years.
Right.
How are you developing the next generation?
So, first off, we have an unbelievable coach in Coach Metter. Coach Rosh is our high school coach when it comes to the offensive line. Coach Metter comes to the high school and helps as well. Coach Metter's been with us for about 4 or 5 years. Unbelievable coach. But he takes all that knowledge from the high school and he takes it into the middle school. And what we do is when football ends, Coach Rosh and Coach Metter come up with a plan, and they call it O-Line Academy, and it goes all the way down to the junior high. So the junior high will do it on the same day that the high school will do it. So they'll start to incorporate those 8th graders who are going to be freshmen into the high school more around March, you know what I'm saying? So they can kind of be around the high school kids. But it's the same exact footwork, the same exact fundamentals and techniques that are being taught in the 7th and 8th grade. Obviously, in the 7th grade, it's more of a base foundation piece of it, whereas, you know, you can bring up Owen and talk about a tight front and how he's supposed to block inside zone or whatever the case may be. That base foundation piece, he learned that in the 7th grade. So he can say, well, if it's this, it's going to be a dirty call, and we're going to do this, and blah, 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 blah. He learned that in the 7th grade. So that's why I believe you have to make sure that it's vertically aligned from the 7th grade through the 8th grade, offensively, defensively, and special teams. So there's not a big, huge learning curve when they get to the high school. They already know those simple things, so those foundational pieces. So when you get into a game plan and you can say, okay, cool, yeah, or not even just a game plan, in the game.
Right.
In the game, and they can do something that we've never seen, and they can make a call because they've been doing it since the 8th grade. You know, so, and we never even talked about it that week. They can just boop. And once again, it goes back to being intelligent and being extremely coachable.
You're going to get to meet Alex Secreto, our defensive player of the game, and the Melissa Cardinals offensive line right after this break. I do invite you and your family to join us at First Melissa Sunday mornings, 9 a.m. or 10:15 a.m. If you'd like to join us online, 11:30 a.m. every Sunday morning. Visit the website firstmelissa.com to find out all the information and join us this Sunday morning. This is Trey Graham with Matt Nally, and we'll be right back from the dugout. Welcome back to the Cardinals Scoreboard Show. This is Trey Graham. We're joining you from the Dugout Sports Grill at the Z-Plex. We're joined right now by the defensive player of the game from the victory over Greenville, linebacker Alex Secreto. Welcome to the Melissa Cardinals Network.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Your first visit to
Yes,
the
sir.
show. Have you been to the Dugout before?
No, sir,
No?
I'm not.
Pretty cool place.
Yes, sir.
Tell us, how long have you lived in Melissa?
I moved here in 8th grade, so this is like our 5th year living here in Melissa.
Moved from where?
We moved from California,
Okay.
down in Sacramento.
And how is Texas different than California?
It's a lot nicer, a lot less homeless people and stuff everywhere. Yeah,
Okay. And how's the football in Texas compared to California?
it's a lot different. It's a big football state down in Texas, so better competition and stuff.
Okay. Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have 2 younger brothers.
Okay. Do they go to Melissa schools?
Yes, sir.
What grades?
One's a freshman and one is in 7th grade.
Okay. They play football?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And talk about being a senior, one of your jobs to be a leader on the team. Talk about that.
As a senior, you just have to, give it your all because it is your last year here at Melissa, and you have to lead by example to the other guys on the team.
What is the perfect linebacker?
Honestly, I'd say Jason Cave, just how he is.
He's been here before.
Yeah, Jason Cave is a great linebacker, and he's a good leader.
All right. Talk more. What makes a good linebacker?
You got to be aggressive, and you also have to be smart and know every responsibility of everyone else on the defense because it helps you with your job and helps you in the scheme of the defense.
Your D-line's pretty good, too.
They are really good.
How does that help you?
Well, when guys like Nigel and Ford and Vidmar can make plays in the backfield before we can even get there, it helps everyone.
That's true, but they also tie up all the blockers.
They do. They do. They hold up the gaps for us just to fit and let us make the plays.
Talk about Coach Matt Nally.
Coach Nally's a really good coach. He gets the best out of every player that he has, and that's why we always go really far in playoffs, and he gets these high-profile players to come here and play.
What's your favorite class in school?
I'd have to say I like my English class with Coach Arvin.
Okay. What do you like about it?
I just like him because he used to coach me in basketball.
Okay.
Yeah.
What subject do you like to study?
Oh, English. English is probably the easiest one.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you want to do after high school?
I want to play college football and then go into real estate.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Have you started with the recruiters? Have you
Yes,
spoken
sir.
to some schools?
It's just we'll find out where we're going after the season.
All right.
Yes, sir.
And what is your goal for this year's team?
We obviously want to go to state, but want to beat Lovejoy too.
Good. And last question, talk about Nate Hemsley, the defensive coordinator.
Coach Hemsley's actually probably the smartest coach I've been around. He knows football really well, and I kind of admire how he can scheme things and put us in positions to make plays and stuff like that.
Give us an example.
He sets up everyone to make plays. No matter who you are, you can go make a play on his defense because it sets you up just by the scheme.
Good. Well, congratulations on being the defensive player of the game.
Thank you.
You've gotten to meet Alex Secreto, senior linebacker, the defensive player of the game for the victory over Greenville. We'll take a break and come back and talk to a whole bunch of people, the offensive linemen for the team, right after this.
We're going to come to the line of scrimmage with 4 receivers, 3 to the wide side on 2nd down and 8, just underway. No score here in the first quarter. Quarterback draw, and Anthony Johnson will take it to the 49-yard line, which will bring up 3rd down and 4.
Johnson, good run off that left side there with Jaden Johnson leading the way. It's almost like a quarterback power play, lead play on the keeper. We'll bring up 3rd and short.
Secreto was there on the tackle. 3rd down, 4, just short of the midfield stripe. 2 receivers to each side. They're going to run the football again and not get the first down. Secreto again.
Yeah, first one there was Secreto, number 44, the outside linebacker.
Ball's on the left hash, 2 receivers to each side. Johnson in the shotgun. Motion man, hand the ball going right. Now he cuts back to the left and runs right into Secreto. And there's Jason Cave to finish it up.
Yeah, Alex is off to a good start tonight. That's his 3rd tackle.
Loss of 3 yards.
Alex Secreto, number 44s.
Clock rolling, 2:18 and counting. First quarter.
Jake Brown, number 77, sophomore.
Owen Hollenbeck, sophomore, number 78.
Jacob Wasserman, number 55, sophomore.
Trevor Goolsby, number 70, senior.
Luke Damo, number 50, junior.
Grayson Spann, number 74, sophomore.
AJ Cole, number 72, junior.
Ryder Slayton, 73, sophomore.
Carson Sarrett, 75, senior.
My favorite thing about Melissa is the amazing facilities we have.
My favorite thing about being a Cardinal is being part of the amazing family that we have.
My favorite thing about being a Cardinal is the brotherhood we have as teammates.
I think my favorite memory is definitely when we beat Argyle 21-0.
My favorite memory from being a Cardinal is last year's second-round playoff game against Midlothian Heritage. Crazy game, lots of comebacks, lots of crazy plays.
Dang right.
After high school, I plan on going into engineering.
After high school, I plan on attending the University of Texas and majoring in business and hopefully becoming a businessman one day if I don't make it to the NFL.
After high school, I'm going to go into college and pursue engineering as well.
After high school, I am going to pursue engineering at the college level and possibly football too.
After high school, I'm going to try to be a D1 athlete.
Dang right.
My favorite thing about being a Cardinal is that we have like a really good bond and we can trust each other.
My favorite memory as being a Cardinal is when we had a dance competition and I was in it.
My favorite thing about being a Melissa Cardinal is the work ethic that all of my teammates have.
My favorite thing about being a Melissa Cardinal is the people all around us. Some of the things coaches taught me is how to be a better person, how to work well with others.
One thing my coaches have taught me is to work hard even when you don't feel like it.
One thing my coaches have taught me is to always have good work ethic.
One thing my coach taught me is to always have good effort no matter what, and it can lead you to success.
Yard line for Jason Russell in the offense. Junior quarterback Trevor Ham starts tonight. Running back Nate Adejokin in the backfield. The tight end getting the start tonight is Jackson Ford. 3 receivers, Carson Maynard, Javon Smith, Jacob Cusano. Left tackle Trevor Gooseby, left guard Brandon Ward. The center is Luke Damel. Right guard Owen Hollenbeck, right tackle Jake Brown. So second down and long. We'll give him 2 actually. They're going to hand the ball to Adejokin. He's going to have a nice run behind the right side of the line. Jackson Ford was one of his lead blockers, and so was Jake Brown. And that's a gain all the way out to the 38, 3rd and 2.
Yeah, Nathan did a good job following Jackson that time. And
all right, first down and 10 after the penalty yardage has been marked off. It'll be spotted at the 28. Ham straight drop back, setting up a screen. It's going to be completed to Javon Smith. Has a wall of blockers, good speed, out past the midfield stripe, and taking it to the 43-yard line. Looks like they're going to spot it, and it'll be a first down for the Cardinals on the plus side of the field, leading 21-0.
well-designed play here.
Just move the football at the 9-yard line, first and goal, and hand the ball off, making one man miss. Easy touchdown run. Jacob Fields from 9 yards out, and the Cardinals lead 27-6.
Brandon Ward, Luke Damel, Trevor Gooseby on that left side of the line. Just a good job of opening that hole.
And then one guy just dove the wrong way.
Yeah, Luke did a great job from that center position, again, sealing off that defensive tackle.
Welcome back to the Melissa Cardinals Network. This is Trey Graham and Coach Matt Nally joining you from the Dugout Sports Grill at the Z-Plex. You're invited to join us every Monday evening for dinner at 5:30 p.m. You just got to meet Alex Secreto, our senior linebacker, the defensive player of the game from the victory over Greenville. And then you met the whole offensive line for Melissa High School. Coach, I think we set a world record for most pounds in a booth
Yes, sir.
a few minutes ago.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, hope the dugout brought some food tonight, by the way. You heard from those guys. You heard a lot of them mention, what do I like best about Melissa? The teamwork, the brotherhood, the family. I assume that makes you proud.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, because at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to push. You're trying to push service. You're trying to push, because in life, it's not just about you. I mean, now at the end of the day, it's about you, but you got to be somebody who is about other people. And not just that, we as humans tend to sometimes not trust others and not want to lean on other people. And this is why I love athletics so much. It teaches you how to really trust another person, how to build relationships, how to maintain relationships, how to trust people. Just, yes, sir, it makes me really proud. But at the end of the day, you know, we can always improve on that. And it's something that I will always strive as a coach. That's going to be my number one goal, is to make sure that the kiddos are getting an opportunity to be good people, and like, it's one of our core values is to be of service. So I think that's a big deal in that regard of servicehood, or whatever the word is. I don't know what it is. Servanthood.
Yes.
Just that makes me really proud.
Yeah. Big victory a week ago against Greenville. The final score was Melissa 49, Greenville Lions 27. And one of the reasons all those offensive linemen were here is because your team used every running back you can imagine.
That's right.
And the team averaged 8.3 yards per carry.
Right.
No matter who was running the football.
Right. Right.
Pretty good night.
Right. You know, and the thing that I love the most, and I was talking to Coach Russell about this today, is we played 10 offensive linemen, we played 3 quarterbacks, and we played 4 running backs in that game against Greenville.
I think it might have been 5, actually.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But, you know, yeah, maybe you're right. It was 5. But, you know, it's so exciting that we're to that point where we can, you know, you go back to building depth and helping kids be successful in their roles that they're asked to do. That, to me, was fulfilling, because at the end of the day, you don't know who's going to go down, and at any point in time, somebody's got to step up. So I was so proud of Bishop Curry. I was so proud of Connor Betts. You know, they got their opportunity to step up, and they really stepped up. But at the end of the day, those 5 kids did an unbelievable job of helping them be successful.
It was homecoming night for the Greenville Lions. You went over there and spoiled that for them. It's going to be homecoming night for the Melissa Cardinals this week, and I think I ask you this every year. What does that mean? Is there a distraction? Is there, it's just what it is? How do you deal with the homecoming stuff when you got a football game to play?
So normally you want homecoming to not be a district football game. And since I did a great job of scheduling this year and got 4 home games, I really didn't have a choice. We kind of crunched everything together. So I did not want it to be Princeton. I knew nothing about Princeton before I scheduled them as homecoming. I just know when I first became the head football coach, the first thing I did was I scheduled homecoming in that first 1 to 2, 3 games period. And I had a few moms that were very upset with me because their daughters going to homecoming, their dresses and their makeup, it was hot. It was really hot. So
too hot for homecoming.
Too hot. So I decided, hey, because I don't have daughters, I have sons, you know, and I think that's important. It was an important lesson for me to understand that that's an important thing for them. So I was like, you know what?
What's the desired temperature for homecoming dresses?
I think probably about 60. I'm
okay,
guessing.
you're just making that
I'm
up.
Just guessing.
Yes, okay.
But I want to help them out. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to make it in a cooler game. And then I really thought the Princeton game would be kind of cool, because when I first got here, no one ever really, it was always this, we don't like Salina, we don't tolerate them, but man, we really don't like Princeton. So I was like, okay, so Princeton is the rival when I first got here. And I thought that would be kind of cool, because we haven't played them in a while. And I think that rivalry needs to kind of kick back up. So I was going to say, you know what, we'll make them homecoming. And it's Princeton. maybe it'll kind of liven things up a little bit, and everyone will kind of get some excitement back for that rivalry. So that's one of the reasons why I picked it as well.
All-time record versus Princeton is?
I don't know.
2-2.
2-2?
2-2.
For me, being here, it's 1-1. So, wow.
All-time varsity football record, Melissa versus Princeton, tied 2-2. It is this Friday night, 7:30 kickoff, 7 o'clock pregame show here on the Melissa Cardinals Network. And the last regular season home game in Melissa Cardinal Stadium. Now, we have a first-round playoff game, presumably, after the season's over. Regular season finishes. So we should have another home game with a playoff game. Last regular season varsity football game in Melissa Cardinal Stadium, because they're building that right now. Do you know when, or do you know the score of the first ever Melissa Cardinal varsity football game at that stadium?
I don't know.
Want to guess?
I know. Was it 77 to something or something?
Well, first of all, the year. What year?
Oh, my goodness gracious. I couldn't say. I don't know.
September 2004.
Wow.
The opponent, Red Oak Crusader Academy, which I don't think exists anymore. And maybe one of the reasons it doesn't exist is because the final score was Melissa 75, Red Oak Crusader Academy 0.
Yes, sir.
And that was the second varsity football game Melissa's ever played.
Oh, wow.
At least since the 1920s. All right?
And Coach Gagrin didn't mess around.
Coach Gagrin did not brother-in-law anybody on that night. But I didn't do the scouting report on the Red Oak Crusader Academy 2014. I'm just guessing if the second ever game Melissa played in history, they probably weren't as good as maybe like this year's team. What was the caliber of our dear friends at Red Oak Crusader Academy?
Oh, who knows? I'm going to have to go to Coach Gagrin and just be like, wow, man, like, can you huddle up and take some time off the clock?
75-0.
Wow. Well, good for them.
So, Coach Deal would like you to bookend this thing and be 75-0 this Friday when the last regular season game's played.
Tell Coach Deal I'm going to try.
I will write it down. Okay, I'm going to put a check mark right there. Okay, so talk about the Princeton Panthers. We've mentioned it earlier. They're down this year. It's not a surprise. I mean, it's no mystery. They're down.
Right. Coach Chandler, he has done an unbelievable job with those kids. And that's the thing about, too, I talked about 5A last week. Everyone's got a guy. And what I'm finding out, too, is everywhere, every team we played, the coaching has went up a caliber. So he does a great job coaching and putting his kids in a potential place to be successful. So, obviously they're young and they're beat up. And but they've got a really talented team that, if we don't go out there and do our job and whatnot, we're going to be in a situation where we could potentially be in an urgency situation like we were with Denison. Like I said, I have no disrespect for them. I think they do a great job and have great kids. So we're not going to look down at anybody and try to look over and whatnot, because that Lovejoy game is next week. We're going to try to concentrate on Princeton and move forward and hopefully come out with a victory on Friday night.
You just said every team has a guy. That's your phrase. I'll give a little bit of insider information to our audience. They may know I come down to see you before the games, and we chat a little bit, see if there's any late-breaking news. Well, there was this past Friday.
Right.
Greenville's guy.
Right.
You found out, and I was standing there next to you, you found out like at 6:55 p.m.?
Correct.
Their guy wasn't going to play.
Right.
Now, we're not going to talk about who he is or reasons or speculation. He's a kid. That's whatever their thing is, right? But from a coaching perspective, their best player didn't play because of issues, right? How did you have to adjust, or did you say, we're just going to go play?
So we had a coaches meeting, a defensive coaches meeting right when we went in, because he played quarterback. Right when we went in, and I We went through every single front, every single coverage, every single thing that we could think of in the regards, because the whole game plan was to stop him. And we haven't seen that quarterback that they've had since game one that played against us. So we just kind of went through that whole spiel of what if this, what if that, yada yada, and it's kind of like, something I've never done before, and that's a pregame adjustment, So we kind of went through all of our checks and balances before we went out there, and coverage-wise, we didn't change anything coverage-wise. We changed some things very minute up front with that kid, just because he was not a dynamic runner like the other kid. Now, he could run downhill, but he couldn't change the scoreboard in the regards of getting loose and going and score. So very little minor details changed, because at the end of the day, the hay's in the barn at that point in time. So all you can do is very minor things. And that's what we did, and we had success with that. And I think that the defensive staff did a great job on Friday night. And we got a ton of kids in and built a ton of depth going forward. So,
and just to wrap up that part of the story, Greenville's coach, Coach Duke, after the game was speaking to the Greenville newspaper, and what he said was, "I wish I'd have gotten to play Melissa at full strength." Mm-hmm. It's fair.
I mean, I totally understand. I mean, I would want to as well. When we went and played China Springs, we went and played Roy City. I didn't have my whole team, and it's a struggling moment when you're sitting there. I mean, in Greenville, I didn't have my whole team. This Princeton this week, I'm not going to have my whole team, and it's frustrating, like the what if factor. So, but yes, I understand where he's coming from.
And one more chance to give a shout out to the Cardinal fans and the viewers and all the Melissa Cardinals Network family.
My thing is this, I'm kind of a nostalgic person. So I go and I sit in Cardinal Stadium and I remember things just over the last 8 years and just my journey here at Melissa. And I remember those times where we beat Salina in Melissa. I remember that moment, and I remember the fans being such a huge part of that moment. And I remember just different aspects of games and situations that were played there. And once again, it gives me chills in the regards to think of how our kids get to play, because Cardinal Stadium's an amazing stadium. Get to play in a stadium like that with the fans that they have. I mean, we went to Greenville the other night. I mean, they almost packed the place at Greenville in our stands. So.
I thought about saying it on the air, and I didn't, but I'll say it now. I believe the Melissa fans outnumbered the Greenville fans.
Correct. So, my thing is it's probably going to be a little rainy Friday night. There's going to be a lot of people in other places. They're going to deal with their stands being a little bit less full because of the rain. I guarantee it won't be like that for Melissa. And it'll be fun for one more time in a district contest, getting to Cardinal Stadium and playing and seeing those fans, because we're all doing it together. It's not just the football team and the stands and the band and everyone's a subgroup. We're all in it together. So
but
it's very fun.
That's the in-house crowd.
Right.
But I also want you to comment on Colorado, Utah, Kansas, Florida, California.
That to me is
all over the world watching.
That to me is almost surreal. Like, you're that dedicated. You're that, once again, it's a fan, and you're like, hey, Friday night, what are you doing? Well, I'm going to live stream the Melissa Cardinal game. You're like, Melissa, where's that at?
Utah.
Right. You're like, well, that's in Texas. I mean, you're that big of a fan to do something like that.
South Dakota, state of Washington.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is, for me, that, like I said, it's just surreal in the regards of, I don't know, it makes me, it motivates me to do better. Because those people are, they're in, like you said, Utah, California. Somebody was overseas watching it, and it just, it motivates me like, wow, they're going to take time to do this. I better be on my best. So, but like I said, just pride, because there's a lot of places out there that don't have support, don't have half the support that Melissa has. And I know for me, as a coach and as an educator at the school, being a part of the community and the community that we have, is such an important piece for me professionally, but also personally with my wife and kids, that we can be a part of that. And it's extremely special. It's extremely special to be here and to be around people that support and care about kids as much as Melissa supports and cares about kids.
You've been watching the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. We broadcast every Monday night at the Dugout Sports Grill at the Z-Plex. You're invited to join us for dinner on Monday evenings. Make sure you subscribe to Melissa ISD on YouTube, and you'll be alerted when a new episode is released every Monday evening. Thanks to Alex Secreto, and thanks to all those big guys that stuffed into this booth a few minutes ago. Thanks to the friends at the Dugout for hosting us. And one more time, I'll invite you and your family to First Melissa this Sunday morning. For Coach Matt Nally, this is Trey Graham saying good night from the Z-Plex.